What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40K. So in this one, we're going over an excerpt from the Oaths of Damnation novel that pits the Wordbearers against the Exorcist chapter. Now the cool thing about this is that we get to see the Wordbearers trying to rip out the demon that has been placed inside the Exorcist Marine. Now the Exorcist chapter actually does this on purpose to strengthen the powers of the Marines if they survive this process. So yes, the exorcists actually take demons and bind them into them, essentially becoming demon hosts. But here it has gone awry as we see the Wordbearers try to do their own little machinations. Now with that being said, that's actually not what this video is about, because there is another instance in this video that has a chaos cultist converting into a chaos spawn, and I thought the body horror and the imagery that was painted through the words in this page was just so interesting. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So without further ado, guys, let's dive right in. "May I bless you, my fellow believer?" Mordoun asked one of the cultists, leaning forward so he did not seem to tower so intimidatingly over the woman as he addressed her. Yes," she stammered, grinning ecstatically, her tears streaking tracks of purity through the mire, befouling her face. "Yes, my shepherd, yes." "Bow your head and lay your hand upon the staff. Say your prayers, my beloved sister," Mordoun said, proffering her his crook. Trembling, the woman obeyed, lightly gripping the bent black warpwood of Mordoun's staff, as he, with a care that belied the disparity in size, gently placed his gauntlet against her scalp. He spoke of the dark tongue. Artax was too long versed in it to feel much more than a stirring deep within his core. But he saw Icar and a few of the others physically shiver in their armor. The effect of the cultist was even more pronounced. They began to wail, struggling to enunciate their own lesser prayers, while blood filled their noses and ran from their ears and mouth. Just after a few syllables, the woman collapsed, shaking uncontrollably as her body went into seizure. Mordoun moved on, repeating his blessing to the next in line, and the next, and the next. By the time he had reached the fifth, the first was howling and writhing through the blood on the floor. There were loud cracks as she arced her back so hard her spine snapped in two. Her neck followed, then both her arms. Her screaming, to Artax's mind, became something akin to the squealing of a pig as she ripped at her woolen clothing, exposing flesh that started to bubble and blister, melting like wax, distending and swelling. New meat was added to her bones, fresh muscle and sinew packed onto her body from beyond the veil of reality by cackling insane entities. It continued to split apart and deform, her broken back swelling and bulging, becoming hunched over, her head partly submused into the thickening mass. One arm and one leg became similarly misshapen, while the others remained unchanged, bent at unnatural angles. Bone spikes burst wetly from the newborn flesh across her body, and the squealing became guttural, inhuman. Despite his own desire to appear detached and disdaining before the rest of the warband, Artax found himself staring like the others, drinking in the display of the blind shepherd's favor. It was moments such as these that helped Artax reaffirm the sour scraps of what remained of his faith, if only for a little while. The second to have received Mordoun's black benediction was on his knees, gripping his head and shaking. Abruptly, a fleshy knot burst from his skulls, from eyes and from his nose and mouth and ears, dozens of tentacles, slimy with brain matter that squirmed and writhed furiously. More ripped their way from the skin all over his body as he too began to change, finally howling in horror from a fresh mouth that gaped open, sideways from his sternum all the way to his stomach. By now, Mordoun had reached the last member of the flow. Able to see what was happening to the others, some self-preservation of instinct finally managed to claw its way, screaming through the man's derangement. He tried to take a step back, stumbling on one of the bodies that littered the defiled thing. Mordoun snatched him by the scalp, holding him firmly in place, blood running down the man's face as the clawed tips of the Wordbearer's gauntlet dug into his skull. The blind shepherd snarled the last of his blessings, his own back, rotten blood running from split lips and splattering down his fleeced tabard. The transmutation was now unstoppable. All 6 of the former cultists were writhing and shrieking, being torn apart and reformed into the capricious whims of the things that had been allowed to reach them from beyond reality. Soon, none of them were recognizable as coherent, sentient beings, let alone humans. At last, their rampant flesh began to settle into some vague sense of stability. They continued to shriek and gibber vigorously, clawing at one another and the bodies beneath them. "Silence!" Mordoun barked, snapping at the spawn as if they were a pack of overexcited bloodhounds. Immediately, their squealing became a muted peal. Mordoun raised his crook, and the things pressed their writhing bodies low. "You smell the Blessed One," Mordoun declared. "You taste him. Now you must find him. Put your new bodies to good work, my fellow worshippers." And with that being said, guys, this was that short little excerpt of Oaths of Damnation that I really wanted to cover, more so because it really shows you the body horror that can be found within the tomes of the Horus Heresy. Because usually when you think about Space Marines and stuff like that, it's mostly like action, especially if you've seen like the Secret Layer stuff or anything from Space Marine 2. It seems that the horror aspect of 40K is slowly getting diluted, and it's becoming, how do I put it, I guess more bland. It's not as grim dark as it used to be in ages past. The grim darkness of 40K has kind of evolved through the years to kind of make it less gruesome and more, I guess, friendly for any younger audience. Now, that's one of the things that we've kind of expected since 40K is blowing up in popularity. However, you do see these little nuggets of just horror kind of pop through here and there. Let me know your thoughts and any other suggestions of topics that you wish for me to cover, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, it's been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll catch you then. Peace.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.